Look at that. Rainbow. Outside. On a wet day here in Seattle. Such a shock, huh? Actually, this is the first rainbow I've seen here in a while. Believe it or not. Today's been kind of crazy. It's been raining, then it's been sunshine, then it's back to raining again. And now I think it's stopped for a little bit. Alright, so I probably should have went to the bathroom before I started doing this video, but sometimes when you're busy, you just gotta do what you gotta do rather quickly. But anyhow, wanted to do a video, a serious video really, about my reaction to Zayda's traumatic, delivery, is the way that Noelle titled the video. I didn't want to really talk about this until after she had the opportunity because I didn't go through the delivery. I didn't go through the pain or anything like that. So I wanted to give Noelle the opportunity to be able to really talk about that to everyone and kind of explain what took place before I even started to talk about it. I kind of alluded to it a little bit, but not really go into a whole lot of detail. Just out of respect, that's, it's not my place to really do that. But since she has already talked about it now, and that video is out, and it's actually going to be in the description box below, you can check that video out if you haven't seen it. But basically, this is my reaction. When we, I have to say that the whole time that Noelle was pregnant, I was a little bit nervous, to be honest with you, because I felt like, Noelle was still a young woman, by all intents and purposes. My mother had me when she was 46, so Noelle is fairly young. 34 is not that bad, but at the same time, as you get older, the risk of pregnancy increases, and then when you look at just the history of her other births and just being pregnant in general, it has not been wonderful. It's been, women experience different things at different times, and so whatever. But she had issues with Zoe, and then Zara, a little bit of issue, and then with Zayda, it was more physical. And I knew that this pregnancy just seemed a whole lot different. It seemed to take a whole lot more energy. There was a lot more pains involved, a lot more just things that just never happened with the other two. And you remember, we thought that maybe that's the signs that she's having a boy. We just didn't really know. But I think it was just the fact that her body is just done. In terms of having and birthing kids, it's just, she's done. And we're totally cool with that. Now, we had talked about having a fourth. In one of the videos, and I can't remember which one, but I said something about, well, I basically left it kind of open that this third may not be the final. Because we had kind of started that discussion of, would we continue on and have one more? And that was something that we were looking at. However, I said, it just depends. It depends on, because I knew, given her history and also how she was handling this particular birth or this pregnancy, that, who knows, really. And then as the month prior to Zayda being born, I kind of stopped talking about the fourth, I'm sorry, having a fourth one. Because it just seemed like everything was adding up to where it just seemed like it would be so complex for her to have a fourth baby because of just the health aspects. Now, I didn't know what took place during Zayda's birth. I didn't know anything like that was going to happen. I just felt like, given the fact that she's having massive leg cramps, her numbness that she's feeling, the high blood pressure, the list goes on, that it probably wouldn't be, and then add an age in there, wouldn't be a good thing. Also, you gotta keep in mind too, I'm starting to get over the hill a little bit myself. I'm 38. So, if you do the math, it's gonna put me into the 40 range, and I don't want to have kids at 40. I can barely right now get up and go to the bathroom at night without, getting cramps and, my feet aching. So I couldn't imagine, chasing after a little bitty tiny baby in my mid 40s. I just can't see that. So when we were there to actually, at the hospital and everything, and they're putting in all the needles and everything, she explained the horrors of that and how that took place and how they were missing it and blowing through veins and things like that. I was getting more antsy about it because I'm thinking, okay, this isn't good. Now, keep in mind, our two daughters, a friend of ours was watching, and that friend was under the impression, like we were, that this was not going to be a super long thing because when Zara was born, it didn't take that long, and so that's kind of what we thought too. She's going to get the spinal block, and boom, it's just going to be kind of quick. I go get the girls and bring them back. Now, the girls are very attached to Noelle, obviously, so they're going to be asking every 5 seconds what's going on. When's she going to come to get us? That type of thing, right? They don't. Zoe doesn't really remember Zara's birth that well, and going to the hospital and all of that. And then again with Zara, it was just boom. It was really quick, and it was not that complex. So when it took about, I don't know, an hour or so for them to even get the needles in and all of the IVs and stuff ran, that was already starting off kind of rocky. But then when she goes into the surgery, I'm waiting in the emergency room. It's better than before. With Zoe's birth, it was like I was in a jail cell. Like I was in a utility room. Like literally, it was about this wide, big enough for you to have a chair in, and there was literally boxes sitting across from me. Like I was just literally in a utility room. When Zara was born, I had a kind of like just this kind of this waiting area type area that I was sitting in. It was just me. But then with Zayda, I was actually in that so-called flex room, the room that they prepared her for surgery. And then also for her to kind of heal up and things like that, they bring her back to that room. So I was in that room. So I put on all my stuff, and I got the cap on and everything, and the whole outfit, which was a size too small for me. I'm about 6 foot tall, and so it was meant for somebody who was like 5'8". The pants were hanging up this high. I had some high waters. You know what I mean? So I go back there. They call me back. Noelle is, the drape is down, and when you're sitting there, she's kind of spread out like this on the table. Her arms are, and so you have a chair that's sitting right there to her left. And so then the anesthesiologist and some machines are right back here to the right, and then the doctors are out there doing their thing. So the doctor's like, we're going to take our time. I don't want to make sure that I hit anything that's vital, like a liver, or not a liver, but a bladder or anything like that. So we want to take our time cutting through this because they knew she's had a C-section before. And she had asked, well, is it going to be a problem since I've had my third one? This is going to be my third one. And one of the ladies said, no, I know of someone who had 9 kids all by C-section. So it blew my mind. So anyhow, I have to say that the entire medical team was very professional, very calm under pressure. So they're cutting through within an hour. As an hour goes by, now typically within this hour, baby should have been already pretty much ready to be pulled out. But they're still just now cutting through to get to her uterus. They haven't even, just from the outside, it's just, there's no baby in sight at that point. It's an hour, and they're taking their time getting through there just to make sure they're not going to hit any vital organs. So then they get in there, and I notice time seems to be peeling by. It seems like it's a very long time. But when everything's going on and all the machines and all the noise and everything, it just seems like it's going by pretty quick. But then at the same time, I've noticed just looking outside at the skyline, and I noticed that the skyline was changing, and that's how I knew time seemed to be going by pretty. It seemed fast, but we were really in there for a while. So I noticed that they were in there grunting, 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 and I asked the anesthesiologist, "Can I stand up to look?" And they said yes. So I stood up and I looked, and I said, "Oh, well, they're just now, trying to get in there." She had asked, Noelle had asked, "What's going on? Can I see?" So I then, when the anesthesiologist had his back turned, I stood up, took a video. It was not only about, I don't know, 5 seconds or so, because you can't videotape while you're in there. You can take pictures, but you can't videotape. And then I sat down real quick of what it looked like, and then I took 1,000 photos that Noelle has and I have of what took place. And she looks back at that and she's like, "Wow." Well, while I'm sitting there talking to her, and we were just talking and joking, she mentions in the video they were talking about we have a heme. Well, I'm not thinking. I mean, I hear the doctors talking about everything under the sun, and we need to go a little bit slower, and this, that, and the other thing, and they're talking a lot of stuff. My focus is on the well, but I did notice that down by my left foot, there was first a little bit of blood, and then it started to pool around my foot. I had to move my foot out of the way so that it wouldn't be soaked with blood. It started to come forward. That's how much blood it was. I did remember hearing splatters and things like that. I guess the best way to describe it is if you poured water from a pitcher or a glass onto a hardwood floor. That splattering sound, and it lasted for a little bit. I heard that. And so I didn't think anything of it, but I was like, wow, that's a lot of blood. Out of the other two times, I had never seen that before. Never. But Noelle and I are still talking and joking. I'm trying to keep her mind clear and off of everything. So then the baby comes out, and great. I quickly count fingers and toes. I'm bad at math, but when it comes to something like that, I was able to just quickly, 5 5 5 5, and I was like, boom, everything's good. And we go over to the little table, the sunlight, and I was able to do the second cut, which was the first time I've ever gotten to cut the umbilical cord for any of my children. And wasn't given the option with the other two. So then at that point in time, they kept me away purposely because you're holding the baby. So it's kind of like, okay, hold your baby here while we do this. And they were weighing her, wiping some stuff off, things like that. And they were stitching Noelle back. Now, the surgery to stitch her back didn't take nearly as long as it was to actually get in there. But it did take some time. I'd say 30 minutes or so, maybe more. Again, it's hard to tell because I was holding my baby. We go back to the room because the baby, we get to, they bring the baby as well. Baby's totally fine, healthy, and thank you God for that. But the nurse had said, you're okay talking to Noelle, but you've lost your color and that type of thing, but you'll be fine. I didn't pay attention, but when I looked at Noelle, her face was completely white. Like and I don't mean like white. It was completely no color whatsoever. It was almost blue. And that took me back for a second. I actually started to choke up a little bit because here we were 35, 40 minutes earlier just talking and laughing. Meanwhile, at that point, she's losing a tremendous amount of blood. The next day, one of the doctors told us that she lost a third of her blood. And so that hit me like a ton of bricks. Because I got to thinking, what in the hell I'm thankful that she survived, but what the hell can I do if my best friend in the world were to die? Someone who I look up to, cherish, who I respect, who the girls love so much. What would I do if she was no longer here with me? And the fact that we were talking and that she could have died right there at that moment. She could have, in mid-sentence, just died. So I'm very thankful to God, obviously, that things worked out the way that it did for the best, and that she's healthy and that Zayda's healthy and that type of thing. But it really was a very difficult time. Noelle is strong as hell. There's no question about that. There's been people that would ask, and she used to ask back in the day, why are you with me? And I think that it's pretty simple for people who hear this story and people that know me, because she's strong as hell. She's someone who is truly a giant in many, many ways. And she has pulled me out of, the doldrums, and she has built me up to be who I am in a lot of respect. I mean, my mother carried me for so long in terms of being to try to develop and to be a man because I didn't have a father. And then I had this crazy wavy life. And then Noelle steps right in and kind of picks up where my mother left off, brushed me off, and says, stand up and be a man. And so I have to thank her for that. But anyhow, that is my take on the traumatic entry that Zayda took into our lives, and we are blessed to have her. Hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, I'll see you. Take care.